I've been vigorously testing the Galaxy S25 Ultra's gaming performance, and I've gone ahead and picked over 10 of the best, most epic Android games to play in 2025 that will really put your S25 Ultra to the test. First, I've got a pretty awesome, partially free Pokemon alternative for you. It mimics the original turn-based Pokemon games we all loved growing up and still do. Despite the similarities, it is still very much its own game with a really exciting storyline. It is a few years old now, but it's still very much viable in 2025. It started off by taking me for a trip down memory lane. Once you've done a few little bits in the game, you'll get to pick your starter Nexamon, with the biggest difference being you get 9 different Nexamon to choose from for your starter Pokemon equivalent. Throughout the whole game, there's well over 380 Nexamon to capture. You can do this by throwing a pyramid-shaped equivalent of the Pokeball. Certainly a good amount of creatures to try and capture here. It'll keep you occupied for a good while. The battle mechanics, again, very similar to Pokemon. You learn moves as you level up and use them at the cost of stamina, and if you want to capture a Nexamon, you need to do damage to it first, but there's still a few other mechanics they've added in as well as there being an awesome storyline, hundreds of creatures to capture, and large regions to explore. They've also added in some little puzzles to solve as well along the way, which you will get to encounter earlier on in the free version. Graphically, it's got super punchy colors, and the Nexamon battles seem around the same quality as some of the earlier Nintendo Switch Pokemon games. It doesn't really feel like I'm playing a Nintendo DS game, for example. Performance-wise, either it's very well optimized or it's simply no trouble for the S25 Ultra. It runs super smooth and looks visually striking throughout. I can't imagine you'll ever encounter any performance issues in this game if you do own an S25 Ultra. I mentioned at the start, this is a partially free game. You can download the game, install it, and start playing without spending a penny. Then if you want to buy the full game, you do have that option. I think this is a really nice way of doing things. You can legitimately test out the game without limitations before continuing on to purchase it. There are loot boxes in this game, but I definitely don't see them as being a necessity to complete the game. If anything, it's better not to touch them at all, even if you are willing to spend money, so you get a real challenge. I'll let you enjoy some raw gameplay footage that I recorded direct from the S25 Ultra before we do move on. I'll do this for every game, but if you did want to crack on with the video, just skip these sections. There's a link to download this down below where you'll find our next graphically demanding game, Ark Survival Evolved. Ark Survival Evolved, a game on PC I've lost literally thousands of hours of my life to, now on mobile, is set in a truly open world environment. The sole goal, survive. You'll need to forage for food, hunt, and build your own base from materials you farm around the island. But that's not it. Dinosaurs. This game has got dinosaurs that you can ride. You can tame and ride a bunch of different types of dinosaurs and even fly around the island map. You can then play on your own or against other players and raid each other's bases to steal their loot, or form a large tribe and fight together. Performance-wise, I would argue this is possibly one of, if not the most graphically demanding games on the Play Store. It's a proper open world experience with not much less than the original game that's currently out on mainstream consoles and PC. The irony in this being that Ark is actually notorious for being poorly optimized on PC, yet it appears to be running super smoothly on my S25 Ultra here on max settings. You can really enjoy it in both single player and multiplayer. There's so much more to explore, like cave systems, breeding, and advanced building mechanics. It's likely a game you'd really enjoy with a controller if you do have one, or if you have some, AR glasses would be perfect. The best thing about this game is the island map, which is pretty huge, is completely free. You'll only start paying for the game again if you want to unlock the other worlds. Again, really nice way of doing things because you actually get to try the game out properly before putting some money into it. It's arguably one of the best games out for mobile at the moment and a little bit underrated in my opinion. If you do have a powerful phone such as the S25 Ultra is definitely worth a try. So I'll leave you to enjoy a little bit of raw footage taken from the S25 Ultra again for Ark Survival Evolved before we move on to our next game. So that was Ark Survival Evolved running on the S25 Ultra. There will be a link down below, but let's change things up now and look at Call of Duty Mobile on the S25 Ultra. This game likely needs no introductions. It's one of the most popular games out there. With max settings, the S25 Ultra handles it without issue, and from my first game on this phone, I absolutely melted the other team, and I'm going to put that down to the larger display of the S25 Ultra and superior gaming performance because I'm actually not that good at games these days. This game is clearly optimized for performance. I don't think it's quite as visually striking as Ark, for example, but it's fun nonetheless, and again, it mimics the console versions really well with all the abilities and load options you've probably come to know and love over the years. Even when quickly using abilities or in really busy areas, the S25 Ultra is handling it with absolutely no lag at all and no noticeable frame drops. Until trying it on mobile, I have to admit I've never actually really enjoyed Call of Duty that much at all. I was always playing Halo when I was younger, so let me know which side you're on. Were you playing Halo or Call of Duty? Anyway, back to the game. What I'm saying, you'll likely get quite addicted to this. It's certainly not flawless though. Some of the controls are a little complicated, and I found the menu screen was a lot. There's so much going on, and then you've got all of these loot boxes, etc. there again, but it is a full COD game and it is for free. So again, you can't really complain. We are in an era where you can pick up great full games for free and enjoy them without spending a penny. I'll let you enjoy a little bit more footage of the game before we get onto our next game, which is really exciting.
UAV recon is standing by. Friendly hunter-killer drone deployed. Predator missile on standby.
Cover me. Contact with enemy.
UAV online. Predator missile inbound.
Reloading. Cover me. Reloading. Coming down.
Recon ready for deployment.
Target down.
Hunter-killer drone on standby.
Sniper.
Predator missile awaiting orders. We've taken the lead.
Tango down! Enemy in sight!
Standing by. Repeat, UAV recon is standing by.
Get down, sniper! Sniper down. Targets in sight. Changing mag, cover me. Grenade.
UAV.
Again, link down below if you want to download this one, where our next game is PUBG Mobile. I'll be honest, I never got on the PUBG hype train. I'd never even tried it out on PC, but it is such good fun on the S25 Ultra. Again, much like Call of Duty, I'm going to put it down to the supreme performance of the S25 Ultra, but I smashed my first game without dying. I found it a little hard to just jump into because I'm not that clued up on how the game works, and tutorials are overrated. But after 5 to 10 minutes, I started to really get the hang of it, and what was meant to be a 5-minute demo of this game turned out into several hours of pretty great fun. Now, the difference between Call of Duty and PUBG is this battle royale type of gameplay. It's essentially open world with a big dome that closes in on you and squeezes players into closer proximity, stopping camping and actually forcing people to engage. It's really addictive, and it does feel like how I might have imagined it felt on consoles a couple of years ago, right on your mobile device. It's pretty insane how we have these experiences on our mobiles now. Again, in terms of graphics, it's a little bit of a step down in comparison to Call of Duty and Ark, for example, but it runs super smoothly as a result, even on max settings on the S25 Ultra. I've not seen any noticeable frame drops, and I'd even question if the S25 Ultra could handle even higher resolutions and better shaders in the future. It's also worth noting that, at least in my opinion, PUBG was never meant to be a pretty game. It was always performance-based, which is fine. It just means more people can enjoy it for less and sort of levels out the playing field a little bit. But the point is, it paired with the 120Hz refresh rate of the S25 Ultra, faster paced games like this, where being quick does matter, are really well suited for the S25 Ultra. I am, however, really excited to see where mobile gaming goes in the next few years. Since I haven't encountered any hurdles yet with the S25 Ultra's performance, it does make me wonder if we could actually handle much more. I'll leave you with a little bit of footage from my PUBG experience on the S25 Ultra before we go on to the next game. Again, little reminder, if you do want to skip this part, go ahead. So that was PUBG Mobile running on the S25 Ultra on max settings, but next up we've got a strategy game that may also take you for a little trip down memory lane, and it's Age of Empires Mobile. Yep, it's here. Age of Empires can be on your S25 Ultra, except it's kind of not. If you're hoping for the same Age of Empires experience you played as a kid, this isn't it, unfortunately. It does, however, echo some of the traditional Age of Empires experience we did come to know and love. It's a completely different game all round. It's sort of more story-driven, I suppose, but a lot of the building mechanics are still there. It's orientated around heroes, and there's quite a few different heroes to choose from and unlock, and there's also some weird extra battle mechanics in there that I've not seen before. I chose to include this game because I did actually start to really enjoy it, and I thought the performance was great on the S25 Ultra. The graphics were equally as good, definitely reflecting some of what's kind of possible with mobile gaming these days. However, I do think at the same time it's a huge miss not adding those traditional sandbox experience that I used to happily play over and over again as a kid. What it does feel like, though, is a big update on the Age of Empires Castle Siege game. I don't know if you guys remember that, but potentially it's a little bit more complicated. Anyway, I just included this for your sake. It's likely going to be a 50-50 split whether or not you like this game or not, but I will still leave you with a little bit of footage to watch. Again, just skip over if you don't want to watch the footage.
Make the villagers focus on farming to harvest more food.
Prêt à récolter. Prêt à récolter.
Unissons nos forces! Messieurs, Dieu, premier servi. A crack.
So let me know in the comments what you thought of Age of Empires Mobile. Was it a colossal disappointment? And whilst you're doing that, we're going to move on to our next game, Pokemon Unite. Now, one game that I do really struggle to say anything bad about is Pokemon Unite. This was such good fun. Pokemon tend to pose for every Pokemon game under the sun, except for the originals we know and really want for mobile. But recently, they've been putting out some really good stuff. In the past, I found the amount of different Pokemon games out there a little bit overwhelming and disappointing in some cases, but the past few years I've seen quite a few different Pokemon games on mobile really taking off, and this is one of them. So in this game, you can play as a Pokemon in an arena, and it's a sort of team points capture mechanic, very similar, I guess, to League of Legends. You essentially need to capture all of the points on the map from the other team. There's a lot of different mechanics to get your head around and other metas to learn with this game, and I've only really scratched the surface, but there's a lot of progression and things to unlock as you go along. With my experience, you can definitely enjoy this without spending money as well, which is a huge plus. I had a few games recently, one as Pikachu, which is your default character, and one as Decidueye, the little owl creature. As you level up in the match, your Pokemon will evolve and unlock new abilities, and late game can get really frantic and exciting if no one team is particularly dominating the arena. Performance-wise, again, it's a very visually striking game. I don't think it feels much different to, say, playing these types of games on PC, for example. The S25 Ultra is cutting through it like butter, no frame drops, despite there being a lot going on screen at all times. I will point out though, again, just a little reminder, I have been screen recording directly from the S25 Ultra this whole time whilst playing, so if you weren't screen recording, you could even expect even better performance from these games. I'd also point out that the phone doesn't seem to be getting hot at all. It feels even noticeably less hot after running a demanding game than my older Z Fold 4. Anyway, it's a super fun game and a great pastime, especially if you've got some mates to play with. I'll leave you with a bit more footage from my last match before we move on to our next game.
The final stretch! We're on fire!
So that was Pokemon Unite. I want to change things up a little bit now though and show off a game that's been one of my all-time favorites for years and still fails to bore me. It's Bloons Tower Defense 6, and I know it might not seem like the kind of game you'd want to play on your top-of-the-line S25 Ultra off the bat, but especially when you get to the super high-end levels in free play, you'll be glad you got the S25 Ultra's power at your disposal. I'm fairly sure this game needs no introductions, but the aim is to defend against an onslaught of balloons. The levels get progressively harder, and your towers get progressively stronger and more redundant throughout the game. So many new towers have been added, as well as new mechanics, and it seems Ninja Kiwi are just constantly updating this game. New towers don't drop as frequently as I'd like them to, but I do appreciate there's a super fine balance to everything in this game, so not to make it too hard or too easy. What I do really like about this game though is the loot box system is very much more cosmetic as opposed to physically altering the game's progression, meaning you don't need to pay for anything once you have the game. That being said, this is our first fully paid game of the whole video, and it'll set you back between $6 and $9 depending on what country you're in, but I bought this game a couple of years ago and I've definitely got my money's worth from it. Anyway, I'll leave you with a bit of footage from Bloons Tower Defense 6 whilst we gear up for our next game. Now, I said earlier that Ark had sort of set the bar for visuals in mobile gaming, but actually I think I was just considering the vastness of the open world and the sheer amount of creatures included. This game, Black Desert Mobile, is probably the one that really is going to test your S25 Ultra. I mean, just look at it, the level of detail is absolutely insane for a mobile game. We're talking console quality graphics here, running smoothly on a phone. It's just mind-blowing. Desert Mobile is a fully fledged MMORPG, and it's absolutely packed with content. You've got character customization, a huge open world to explore, tons of quests, and of course plenty of combat. The combat system is actually really engaging. It's not just button mashing. There is a real sense of impact to your attacks, and then you can chain together combos for some really flashy moves. What's really impressive is how the S25 Ultra handles all of this. Even with the graphics cranked up to max, I haven't experienced any noticeable lag or frame drops, even when surrounded by several enemies. The game runs buttery smooth, which is essential for a fast-paced action RPG like this. I've been playing for hours and the phone barely even gets warm. It's clear that the S25 Ultra from these tests is a beast when it comes to mobile gaming. Now, I will say that Black Desert Mobile can be a bit of a grind. There's a lot to do and it can take some time to progress, but if you're into MMOs and you're looking for a game that looks absolutely stunning on mobile, then it's definitely one to check out. It is free to play, so you have got nothing to lose by giving it a try. Again, I'll leave you with a little bit of footage from my earlier game in this. It's definitely worth a watch because it is a really interesting game, probably as close as you're going to get to something like Skyrim at the moment on your mobile. Next up, we've got another great game for pushing the S25 Ultra to its absolute limits. It's Zenless Zone Zero. It's an absolutely wicked game, and the S25 Ultra handles it really well on max settings, despite getting a warning from the game. If you go ahead and set the rendering to high, you'll get a warning message saying the S25 Ultra can't handle it and to expect overheating. But I have to say, it really didn't. It got a little bit warm, but not as warm as the next game. This game, though, is absolutely stunning. It's really story-driven, has great graphics, and lots to do. It is free initially with a paid option if you do decide you like it. It kind of reminds me of No More Heroes blended with Overwatch in terms of style, and I've been hearing a lot about it recently. It's definitely an up-and-coming game and one that the S25 Ultra users can take advantage of. It's another great example of where mobile gaming is heading, and this really excites me. Anyway, I don't really want to spoil the story too much on this one for you, but I'll leave you with some Zenless Zone Zero gameplay on max settings with the S25 Ultra.
My heart rests a little easier whenever you're around, Ambi.
Same for you.
In my sights! Which one?
So now I just want to quickly swing back to a shooter game, and it's Call of Duty Warzone Mobile. Now, there's a couple of key differences with this to Call of Duty Mobile. The first being that it's definitely more graphically demanding and equally definitely more pretty than Call of Duty Mobile. However, it is the first game of this video where I've actually noticed the S25 Ultra struggling just a tiny bit, but I've also noticed it's been overheating slightly in comparison to playing any of the other games I featured in this video. So this is the first first and only game that I featured that really has put a little bit of strain on the S25 Ultra. And when I say lag, it's only a minuscule amount. I've just noticed the very odd frame drop, and it could even be due to connection issues, but definitely a noticeable difference in comparison to Call of Duty Mobile. The one thing I really don't like about this is the controls. I found it really easy to get into the other games that I've played, like PUBG, Call of Duty Mobile, but this one I just couldn't get into a flow, and I died very, very quickly in it. The other big difference, of course, is that Warzone is more of a battle royale style shooter game, which has become very popular over the past couple of years. I don't really want to go into much more detail about this game. I feel like you all know what Call of Duty Warzone is, but if you did want to see some gameplay footage, this is what you can expect from the S25 Ultra during gameplay.
All squad mates are in the safe zone. Bounty targets are up. Get after them.
Enemy dropping into the AR.
Eliminate all targets in the AR.
So that was Call of Duty Warzone Mobile for the S25 Ultra. Next up, if you click in the left or right hand corner now, you can go to my review of the X-Real Air 2 Pro glasses, potentially a perfect pairing for the S25 Ultra's improved processor. If you don't want to watch that though, you can watch my unboxing of the S25 Ultra in jet black. For now though, I've been Alex and this has been Tech It Easy. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.